Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. This time, we'll take a look into this book. This is Starblast, #1 from Marvel Comics, 1994. That's a 94 cover date. It was actually released about 3 months earlier in 93. This was written by Mark Gruenwald. Pencils by Herb Trimpe with inks by Ralph Cabrera. And Starblast was a crossover event in the Marvel Universe. And this was a miniseries that was supposed to re-spark the cosmic series in the mid-90s. It was a crossover between Warlock, Quasar, Captain Marvel, and other cosmic heroes. Apparently, it crossed over from the Earth 616, which is our main Marvel universe, over to the universe of the Marvel New Universe. And yeah, it does. And I've talked about Mark Gruenwald and Herb Trimpe before in more detail, so I'll talk a little bit about not much though, Ralph Cabrera. And I really can't find much about him. And I guess he does animatics and storyboards for TV commercials now, and as well as comic and coloring books and t-shirt design. So all that is good stuff for him, still working in the art field, and that's good. And you see this. It has this great cover painting illustration, and when I talked a little bit about this on a couple months ago when I did the haul video in which I acquired this book, I didn't know who the artist was. I can't read his name. His signature is down here in the corner, incorporated into the background, and I really can't read it. Someone informed me, and I want to thank them for it. I don't remember who it was now. Was that it's Claudio Castellini is the cover artist, whom I know nothing about, never heard of before, but it is some really great work. We'll take a real brief closer look. It's some really nice stuff. A bunch of the characters from the miniseries. You can see the Starbrand right there in the background, which plays a big role. And these aliens. It is just a really nice piece. Would make a wonderful poster. Okay, I'll take a little look inside. This is a little longer. This is, including the covers, it's a 50-page book, as opposed to the normal 32 without the covers. And, I wanted to mention, okay, Herb Trimpe is the penciler. And, of course, Herb Trimpe had a long history with Marvel and was a primary penciler on the Hulk for several years with various inkers, including himself. My favorite period in there was with the John Severin inks, and he was very, very good at telling these stories, and he's also good at doing the overinflated anatomy of the Hulk, because he's the Hulk as well as regular people. Well, from what I understand, I don't know this for sure, But from what I understand, at least Herb Trimpe believed that artist Rob Liefeld had been doing a lot of swiping from his work. I don't know that for sure, but he felt so. So as a result, and he didn't like that, as a result, instead of swiping Rob Liefeld's work, which was just swipes of his, he swiped Rob Liefeld's style for a short time. He did Fantastic Four in the 90s. I had one of those, and I was so surprised when I saw that it was Herb Trimpe doing the artwork. And then he did the same thing in here. And we'll see. He did, as we get to it, I'll just briefly do it. It's basically about some alien beings, and their ship is called Starblast, hence the title of the miniseries. These conglomeration of aliens, and they kidnap Uatu, the Watcher, who is on the moon watching everything that goes on Earth, and crosses over to multiple Earths. So here, this gigantic ship, Starblast, says once in a blue moon, and here you see double page spread with very Rob Liefeld-esque figures and aliens, and these some are organic, some non-organic, some cybernetic, and Uatu is their captive, and they're using their technology to get into his brain, and too many ads. And this is where we get the background leading up to the story. Well, he is telling them because they are searching for something, and it gets what they want. It goes back to this living laser guy went through a portal, which just distributed him multiple copies of himself to all over the multiverse. Quasar, here we see Quasar, went to stop him, bring him back, all kinds of other stuff. Anyway, by the time he got back, he had gone to the new universe and acquired the Starbrand. He returned, and it was accidentally transmitted to his friend Kayla, who then also has superpowers, and she has been trying to find a way to get rid of the Starbrand, but she has to pass it on to somebody else. So that they are after the Starbrand. You can really see some of the Liefeld-like work in here, and it gets more so. They're after the Starbrand. They're on the far side of the moon. Their ship is so huge here. This thing it drops this, and it's like a mile long. It's an engine of sorts. It implants on the far side of the moon and starts pushing the moon towards the Earth. Of course, just ever so slightly, but enough to affect things like Moon Knight senses it, but he's unable to do anything because he is earthbound. But he senses something wrong. But he contacts other people. Here is Quasar with his friend Kayla, with who has the Starbrand. He drops her there off from something else. Drops her off. Here are the Avenger. Something's not right. Avengers, X-Men, some Russian heroes, even the Squadron Supreme, who at this time are on the Earth, 616 Earth, the Eternals, all these, and the Inhumans, and you can really see all this stuff. And a Shi'ar, alien Shi'ar ship is in the vicinity, and there's Warlock and his people on Monster Island, and all these people sense something, and they go to investigate. Go to the moon to investigate. So here we are. Quasar gets up to the moon, and it runs into Captain Marvel. I can't remember this Captain Marvel's original name. She was featured as a little girl in the Captain Marvel movie, but they get up there to find this giant engine thing, and then Captain Marvel is captured and whisked and pulled inside. Then it tries to do the same thing with Quasar, but he's able to prevent himself, and you can see all this extreme gross exaggeration of the anatomy, just much like Liefeld does. Except one major thing is that Herb Trimpe is a much more experienced and artist, decades more than Rob Liefeld ever was, and just in general a more skilled comic artist. And he, even though he's using Rob Liefeld's style, has some of the type of page layouts that Liefeld and others that drew like him used. His visual storytelling is much better. So he's able to break free. Some other heroes are already captured there inside the, and Quasar starts freeing these other heroes here. Meanwhile, the Starblast ship descends to Earth. While here we see Quasar trying to save some of these other characters, and they are being mind manipulated by these facehugger type gizmos, just like similar to the facehuggers from Alien movies, and they are controlling the minds of some of the heroes, so they are fighting each other in space. Meanwhile, other aliens dispatched by the Starblasters, they go and they capture Kayla. And Nova happens to be in the vicinity, and he sees this going on, tries to help out, but to no avail. They knock him out. Meanwhile, the heroes are fighting one another in space, trying to prevent the mind control, overcome the mind control, which does with like I suddenly forgot his name, from Inhumans, and some of the Russian characters. All this is going on, and then they all become freed eventually, and then they work together to tip this engine over. Because remember, this is so huge, it's like hundreds or thousands of feet high. Tip it over. And when it goes over, it just zooms away off into space. But it turns out this was all simply a distraction to get the heroes off the Earth. And so here they are. Well, that's taken care of. What's next? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So he goes home. Quasar goes home to check on Kayla. That's when he discovers that Kayla has been abducted, and Nova is being hauled off in an ambulance. And then he sees that, oh no, this was all a distraction to get Kayla. Yes, that's what it was. And then it is continued in Quasar, and it crosses over many of the titles for a long run of through all these titles. To tell one overall story, and that is a brief overview of Starblast #1. I was completely unfamiliar with this miniseries and crossover, and I enjoyed the book. I like seeing Herb Trimpe again with a later style. And remember, he shortly after this, he became a high school art teacher, and was successful at that. He got higher. I think it was a master's degree in fine arts. Good for him. So that's all I've got. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment. Oh, do you like this cover? Let me know. Oh, that's a beautiful cover. What do you think of the Herb Trimpe art imitating Rob Liefeld's style? And did you read any of these? Do you know any more about this than I do? Because I've never read any of these before. I don't know how the story continues. I don't know how it wraps up. Let me know in the comments below. And remember, my people, comics are art.